Hey everyone, welcome back to Crypto Cash. Thank you so much again for joining me here. I hope you're having a fantastic and phenomenal day or weekend. Let's take a quick look here at SUI, see what's going on. We're going to talk a little bit about this heavy liquidation area to the downside that has yet to be fully swept. We dipped in there just a little bit, dipped our toes in the water, and we could see the price recovering here. Keep in mind this is a very low volume recovery, but Bitcoin is kind of bottoming out tentatively at 96,000, slowly recovering. So we're seeing some altcoins kind of respond positively to that. Bitcoin dominance is also starting to taper off, which this is just mostly going sideways, very early to tell, but it's just kind of a reflection, not the cause, but more so the effect of altcoins effectively bleeding out. Okay, so we need Bitcoin dominance to come down as kind of a visual representation of altcoins kind of getting back on track. So why don't we take a quick look at the back end liquidation data first, kind of see what's going on here. And to all those who have been liking my videos every single time you watch them, thank you so much. Please continue to do so. It really helps grow the channel and get this in front of more people. So, you know, those moon boys stop getting all the views just because it's unfortunately they consistently promote that coins are going to go to the moon every single day, when truthfully, there's a lot of ebbs and flows in the market. Some coins could do that. We could see SUI, get back on track. But for right now, there's no early indication that that's the case. Okay, so again, completely unbiased, analysis here. Hopefully, you can find benefit. Let's take a quick look. Last 7 days here on the left-hand side, we can see, as per usual, this hasn't changed too much. We got a little bit more here at about the low 285 range, but we can see some late longs at 285 to 280. These are high leverage longs, so to keep in mind, the more high leverage idiots that continue to enter in the market, the more likely we are to see the price go down. So please understand that you're kind of a reason for half of the problems that we have if you are one of those persons that just uses high leverage and just generally just throws money at the wall to see if it sticks, right? It's really pretty much the equivalent of just flushing it down the toilet. You're going to find some success, but trust me on this, folks. If you use proper risk tolerance with proper technical analysis, your odds of success goes up dramatically. Okay. Anyways, the whole point of this is that while I recommend using lower leverage in general, these are high leverage people. We'll call them people for now, that are effectively in some heavy long positions. Okay. So just know that those areas are more likely to get swept than not. However, we look at the macro here. There's not a lot above us, but there is more below us. So the general consensus is that the price could still continue lower based on a standpoint from liquidation, but we don't take trades based on that one thing, right? We can see here that liquidation delta has been low for a long time, and it's kind of a heavier concentration here, $250 million. We can see right there kind of the average within the last 2 or 3 trading days. And I don't know if you probably saw this yet, but we're seeing similar behavior for Solana, for example. Other coins that are looking like they're wanting to recover and bouncing off this local bottom, mainly because they have a massive overextension to the downside. There's too many people shorting this coin. We can see the same exact thing here as well for SUI as well. It's overextending itself, leading me to believe that we may see further upside here soon. Okay, again, that kind of is part of that incentive. Keep in mind too, we have a lot of resistance above us. So keep this in the forefront of your memory here. Open interest, really kind of telling us that people are heavy at 325 and 315. Those are the next 2 barriers we need to overcome. We have a solid base at 295 here so far, but not a lot of support outside of that minus the 266 level. Okay, so again, volume does speak very loud. Pun is definitely intended there. You want to pay attention to volume, and that's where open interest and or these local points of control are very helpful. Just to touch on it before we go to the macro, you want to see here 316, 315 is the easy round number to remember. This 0.5 fib level is effectively that resistance range for us. Okay, so until we close soundly above that, there's really no reason to take a long. Okay, you could literally take a long between now and then, hypothetically, but again, why do that? It's a high-risk trade. Everything's moving down. There's no reason to trade against the trend. Now, if you're the kind of person that likes to jump off buildings and, see if you don't break your legs, or you like to run into oncoming traffic, and maybe that's just a thrill that you get, then by all means take some longs here. But again, you're going to find that when your heart starts palpitating later because you're in the red on a very high leverage position, you're going to be very sad that you didn't listen. And again, not to say that this isn't right. The price could still go up. In fact, it probably will, just based on how things work. For the most part, you can almost do the opposite of what seems logical, and it works pretty well. But it only works for so long and gets you to think that it actually does work all the time, and that's the wrong thing, right? So again, if you get lucky now on a high-risk long, that's great. I would say kudos to you and congratulations. Just don't think that that's how it's supposed to work, because that's really not the way that trading is working, okay? Anyways, the market lately makes people think that they're untouchable because they have some luck with certain like crazy trades, and it's only going to bite you in the butt later. That's all I can say. Trust me, after 20 years of experience, there's you want to avoid something like this. I'm not bothering with SUI for a very long time until it gives me confirming factors. Again, me just being patient, that's how I am. I'm kind of an outlier in the crypto industry. And so at least from this is the impression I get from my community members who tell me other influencers are kind of ridiculous. Having said that being said, lower lows here, we can see RSI on the daily getting closer to 30 with the money flow index getting closer to 20. Generally speaking, when you see that, you're going to see a natural capitulation and a pullback or recovery. Okay. Now, we haven't seen this kind of behavior from SUI in a very long time. Keep in mind, we haven't been under 50 in the RSI since what, October of last year, and that was when the price was in the 170 to 230 range, right? So the truth is, when the price action came down here at this one point where we see the low money flow index at about that 20 mark, that's roughly where we're at right now, we did see a pretty monumental recovery. Okay. So again, if history repeats itself, we'll see the same thing as well from SUI. Just got to keep in mind though, there's way too many, way too many market makers influencing the price action now. That's, unless they decide the price goes up from here, it'll just keep going down, right? So for the most part, there's nothing bullish about the daily time frame. We only have that one caveat that tells us that we may see a recovery based on a significant overextension. And you don't, and just trust me on this here, with crypto, you don't trade overextensions. It's not really a worthwhile venture. It'll occasionally work out, don't get wrong, you can get lucky. But again, do you really want to base a career on luck, right? If this is something you really want to do and you want to stick to it, then remove luck altogether if possible. Okay, anyways, conversation for another day. But on the 4-hour time frame, we're still below our descending trend line. This descending trend line runs fairly concurrent with the 20-day SMA. Until we're back up above that, there's no reason to take a long position. There's a tiny amount of profit in between here and there, sure, that's all well and good, but why not take a trade when the trend is moving in that same direction? It's not right now, and it's pretty obvious, lower lows, lower highs. Until we break that trend, there's no reason to take a trade. I'll show you here in a minute how to identify a trend reversal. It's pretty straightforward. I talk about it a lot in my trading university within my community, but for the most part, on the 4-hour right here, we're still getting closer to that overextended state. So we are seeing two overextensions, one on the daily, one on the 4-hour, and that does tend to work things in your favor sometimes, right? So there is no doubt that we could very well see a continuation higher because of this. MACD hasn't converged, but we're seeing a second stochastic swing, maybe even a third, which is generally implying that we're starting to see support in this lower range. But again, with all this liquidation just below the price action, I don't feel very good about taking a long or recommending you take a long. Okay, it's irresponsible to do that. Having said that though, everything looks pretty bearish here. There's nothing bullish. Again, to make it simple, a closure above this point of control at 316 would be a good start. That's really what I'd be looking for. And again, we'd really want to be able to see a closure above that and then another higher high, and then maybe even get in if it pulls back to retrace, to retest the local support level, okay? But for right now, there's nothing that I see here that's worthwhile. And as I mentioned in my community yesterday, I would not touch this with a 10-foot pole. And again, if you just took offense to how I said that, then I'm sorry, you're probably not in the right place. Because again, I'm mostly just gonna tell you how it is, and there's no need to really sugarcoat any type of analysis, because it's literally it's just a chart. That's all it is. There's no motion here, okay? Please understand that. Anyways, all that being said, even if now's not a good time, there's going to be a time later when I decide that this will be worthwhile. But for right now, there's nothing here. We're still below the cloud, lag and spans, getting close to the price action, potential shift in momentum again. Again, we're seeing a lot of tiny little overextension shifts in momentum, but those are not enough to warrant a trade. Getting above specific key level resistances, that's a little bit more worthwhile. So again, to kind of reiterate, I would just say round number 320 or higher, and we're going to be in better shape. And when I say closure too, some people are confused by that. It would be a daily candlestick closure, because again, in order to create a new daily candle, there's a 24-hour circle. So essentially, just simple way to understand it, 0 GMT is a new daily candle. So if today's candlestick closes above that level, I might be inclined to want to consider a long position. Again, I'm also going to need to see Bitcoin over 100,000 to be able to feel comfortable at that too, because Bitcoin under 100K, altcoins are super shaky, and it makes no sense at all to try to trade into that. So I'm leaning tentatively, again, emphasis on the word tentative, towards short positions with altcoins and Bitcoin, okay? So between now and whenever that is, you'll know if you're part of my community. But between now and then, it's okay to be patient and wait for good opportunities. Right now, there's just not a ton. We're right at the bottom. It's hard to want to short the bottom. We want to see a bit of a relief rally. So my perfect scenario would be for the price to come up here to 318, 316, and consider a short at that level, right into that resistance and the descending trend. Okay. Will I do that? No, because I don't short SUI, but that would be something I'd look for. Okay. All right. I hope that makes sense. I'll post a playout chart on Twitter, Telegram, and Discord if you're not familiar already. I would have already uploaded it, so it's going to be here for you too. Be sure to check that out. And quick congrats to our community members as well on some nice little scenario shifts here. Our Premium Plus bot doing pretty well. Now, this isn't massive profit. This is $50 per trade, but over the past week, we've been able to see some pretty solid, consistent gains with our auto trading, more of a passive income. So for our Plus community members, be sure to tune into that, update your strategy based on our signals guide here, and this will help you kind of get insight on how to kind of maximize your benefit there. Either way, just throwing it out there. Some people may not know that because they may not pay attention, but it's a nice little resource. More to come. I hope you have a good rest of your day. We'll see you in the next one. Thanks again for your time.